Blender is a 3D modeling software tool that you can use for all kinds of things. It's free, it's open source, it's complicated, and I've been meaning to try it out for a while now, so that's what I'm doing today. I really don't know much about 3D graphics. I gave it a try like 8 years ago on a pirated copy of Cinema 4D that my terrible computer could not handle at all, and that's pretty much the extent of my experience with it. Now, I could watch tutorials, and I could read the manuals and, do this like a normal person, but that would not make for good, algorithm-friendly content, so instead I'm going in blind. Okay, this is not as bad as I thought it would be. Now, when I said that, it's because I expected an angrier-looking UI, but that doesn't mean I knew what I was doing. I don't know what this is. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I move around, like, the camera? UV editing. Oh, that's scary. This is fun though. This is very fun. I don't know what those are. I started experimenting with the various sculpting and modeling options. It went interestingly. Oh, that's great. That looks great. Okay. Ooh. Oh, that does something. This is modern architecture. This is what art looks like. Bevel. Great. I found the spin option particularly amusing. What? What's that? What? And ended up with this gnarly shape. My next challenge was to make it a different colour. It took me a while to find the material options, but I roughly knew what I was looking for, so it went okay. There is something I'd like to point out. Aside from Blender, most 3D modeling software is typically not cheap. ZBrush is $900, so that's a bit under 800 euros. The Substance 3D suites with these sad icons are about 600 euros a year, and Maya is 2,226 euros a year. Blender is zero. Price used to be such a big barrier for people to just make things, even if they don't necessarily have the money. That was a huge barrier. It isn't anymore, and that's mostly thanks to free software like Blender. And what blows my mind about it is that it makes no economic sense. The developers of Blender and Krita and Audacity and MuseScore and OBS, all the software that I rely on every day for the most part, they need to be paid as well, and instead of charging their customers for it, they decide to rely on donations. That is a very precarious place to be. Anyway, after this I attempted to play around with materials. Is that what taking LSD is? So this is what the camera's seeing. That's great. That's fucking wild, man. Well, that's red. That's very pink. Oh, I did fuck with the world there. No, don't do that. Does that change it? Oh, yeah, it doesn't help. Okay, so I just arrived to a point where I don't think I would be able to make significant progress by just feeling around the software. So I started looking at tutorials, and this is something else that I want to talk about. Because Blender is open source, anyone can change the code, make their own mods of Blender, make their own presets for Blender, and then if the developers like it, they can implement that into the official version. Because of that, Blender and most open source software tends to have really cool, really enthusiastic and really vibrant communities that are also very tightly knit to the development process. And that tends to be reflected in the tutorials. I found better and higher quality tutorials for Blender than for almost any other software that I've used before. I would argue this is the kind of companies that we need to give more of our attention to. This is not like an isolated company like Adobe with mostly an eye on profits. When you give your product away for free and you rely on donations, your main challenge and the main goal is not profit, but just sustainability. It's in their interest, it's their incentive to build a community, user base that is invested enough in the software that they're building that they donate. I still have a lot to learn about Blender. Obviously, I've only been doing this for a week, but I'm already pretty amazed by it. I'd like to give a shout out to the developers of Blender and to the Blender Guru in particular for his amazing tutorials that he gives away for free on YouTube. There are links in the description, and I'll see you next week.